Hello and welcome to this game review. So in this one we will talk a little bit about opening principles and how to develop from the opening, as well as how to finish an attack. And usually it's connected to forced calculation and the discovery of forced lines, which usually would lead to some kind of checkmate, or at least a big material win. So firstly, this was a 10 plus 0 game. The first tip I would say is don't play 10 plus 0 because this is blitz chess. And to get decent games worthy of analysis, we should play at least 15 plus 10, or preferably a longer time control. The more time you have, the better the moves will be, and the more thinking we can do, which we can later analyze. So this was a game from the Jabava London, and generally this is not a very good opening. Already on move 2, white is making an inaccurate move, because the knight on c3 is blocking the pawn on c4, and in d4, d5 openings, both sides should use their c-pawns, either to defend their d-pawn or to attack the opponent's c-pawn. So there are a few options, but if white puts a knight here, he can't do none of them, and this knight after, for example, c6 is completely dominated and will not have a real future. So I wouldn't suggest playing like this, just play the queen's gambit. If they take, you can just get the pawn back slowly. Okay, knight c3, bishop f4, and white plays f3, so this is again a little bit too aggressive. Maybe white should probably finish development before doing anything. Okay, f3, now knight b5. This is another violation of opening principles. This time white is moving around the same piece twice without really getting anywhere. Here black would just defend the pawn on c7, and it's not clear why white has spent 2 moves with this knight. Oh, bishop d6 instead, this is also possible. e3, bishop d3, and now we get to this position where white is down in development because they have only 2 pieces developed against black's 3 pieces, because black has castled. But white can of course catch up by castling, or by playing knight e2 and then castling, and the position should be more or less fine for both sides. Slowly white can decide on which side to play, and maybe he is slightly better because the opponent's pawns are doubled. But here white makes a very typical opening mistake, attacking without any preparation, and this pawn to h4 move is not really helping white's position at all. Instead, white should have castled with the king or developed a knight, because now black will be able to attack in the center and gain the initiative. Well, this move completely messes up white's position. Now castling kingside will be dangerous, and any hope of an attack is impossible with such an open center. So this is another opening principle, the unprepared attack. This should be avoided. We should start attacks only when our pieces are developed. So now e5 happens. The black is able to open up the center. He plays h6, and here white picks up a pawn, but again he is undeveloped, so picking up such pawns is quite dangerous. Instead, white should probably try to develop the knight as soon as possible, maybe castle queenside, and hopefully get the pieces out into the game. Instead, rook d8 is played. White picks up another pawn, but here, even though white is 2 pawns up, which means long term he is winning, in the short term white has huge problems with his king on e1, which cannot castle kingside and cannot castle queenside, so it is stuck in the center, and the pawns will only be useful if we get to an endgame. So now queen a6 and e4, so black is now going to attack. White goes f4, but here white should have done a simple blunder check, and before making any move thought about the opponent's checks, captures, and attacks. And after queen takes b2, white is losing because now the black pieces are invading. This king is completely naked in the center, and black is just checkmating. So rook d1 happens. Now the king is stuck in the center again. Instead of moves like h4, we should have tried to get the pieces into the game. And now black should be just winning, and he is using all his pieces to attack. And a few moves later, here for example after queen f2, the game is simply just completely over because there's no one to defend from queen g2 checkmate. But black manages to ruin his attack somehow, and here after c4, white is almost okay, and after g5, Now white is the one attacking because now this king is also a bit weak. So this is what happens. White invades with a few nice checks. And here queen e7, king g8. And this king goes all the way to f5, which allows white to develop with tempo. And here we have 3.5 minutes. We should be able to find some kind of winning continuation instead of giving a perpetual check. Because here, for example, we could just take on f6. And it turns out black doesn't really have any checks while we are threatening, for example, queen h8 and then bishop rook f6. That's one idea. We can also try to checkmate in another way. Here we could have found rook to f4 check. Black has to take, and now queen g6. And the only move for black is queen g5, so of course white is winning here. So this is another variation which we could find, but with such a king with 3 attackers, we should be able to find something. And here white instead opted for a perpetual check without thinking at all. So in this shows that we're not really trying our best in these games. For example, here you see that you have a perpetual check. Black is not going to go here anyway. So you can spend all of your time and try to figure out if there's a win. And if there's not, then sure, give the perpetual check. But if we're not even trying to figure out a win, then we cannot really expect our results to improve. So as a general rule, we should try our best in our games. And of course, this is a 10+0 game, so it's not a very serious time control. It's more of a blitz game. But still, in longer time controls, I would hope that you would think for more in a position such as this. So hopefully this was useful, and hopefully next time you focus on developing the pieces before starting an attack, as this is usually what happens when we start an attack without developed pieces. If it doesn't work out, well then, there you go. Black is the one who is attacking.